after some great encouragement from my podcast guest today, a lot of people sort of say, Gavin, you should start a YouTube channel and stuff like that. Well, I'm 53 years of age, so I'm not sure how many people want to watch a 53-year-old on YouTube.
Gary Vee, Joe Rogan,
I guess.
Everyone is in their 60s, all my favorite guys, so not true,
Okay,
not true.
well, in that case, I might kick it off today. Today will be the number one. He told me that I should absolutely go and start putting out YouTube content, and so here we go. Let's give this a shot. So I'm here in Spain. I've just interviewed Rob Lipset for the channel, for the podcast channel, I should say. And what I thought I would do is maybe cover the first question that might come into people's minds. The fact that I'm in Spain is, what are the pros and cons of buying a property in Spain? Should you invest in overseas property? And I guess what I'll do is I'll start with a little bit of history. So I bought this place way back in 2008, and it was at the time I was doing quite well financially, and I thought, do you know what, I want to, I actually got involved in a project here in Spain, and that project was very hands-on. It required a lot of time and attention. And so I thought, I'll move down here, I'll live full-time in Spain, and so I'll buy a property. And so the first thing when you're buying a property is to understand whether or not it's permanent. Is it a holiday let? Is that you're thinking about? Is it so that you can use it whenever you're thinking about using it, dropping everything on a weekend and flying down and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot to think about when it comes to buying a property.
The bungalows, which one do you have?
I don't. You do. Bungalow 5.
Well, I don't understand.
I'm buying this house from you.
This house isn't for sale.
Sure it is.
Because there's obviously the emotional side of it. You're very pleased at the idea of owning your own home or villa in this sunny climate. In my case, when I bought this place, I remember waking up and going for a swim in that pool, and my daughter at the time was like 4 years old or something like that.
I'm videoing you. I'm gonna go under the water.
And I can remember looking up at the house, looking up at this place here behind me, and just pinching myself and saying, like, I cannot believe I own this beautiful villa now in the south of Spain. And I just thought all my Christmases had come at once. And so that was the first thing. But that emotional feeling, it can get pushed to the wayside when you start to deal with problems and challenges and stuff like that. And so, not long after I bought this place, we went through the 2008 financial crisis, and my financial situation changed quite substantially, and I was in real difficulty, and I faced the prospect of losing the house a couple of times. Keeping up the payments and things like that became very difficult. So you gotta, first of all, ask yourself the question, is this something you can afford? Is this something that is going to be, have you got the financial situation and the stability that buying it today, your financial situation will continue to be good later on? And then it's not just paying the mortgage and stuff like that. There is a lot of upkeep, especially when you've got a bigger house. Like in this case, I've got a decent garden. I'll walk around the back so you can kind of see, but there's a lot of upkeep. And so I have to have a gardener who I pay for a gardener to come here monthly. He also doubles up as a pool guy, and he does all the cleaning and the treating of the pool and stuff. But this is not cheap. Like having a gardener for a big place, there's a lot of work involved. And if you don't do it, it doesn't take long before the place starts to fall into rack and ruin. Now, I rented this place out for about 5 years, and it actually saved me financially because at the time I just couldn't afford it. He didn't keep the place in the kind of condition that it needed to be kept in. Like, he was a very nice guy and he paid the rent and everything like that. But I look around now and I see signs that he didn't really keep it as well as he could have. Like, for example, this is a kind of a barbecue zone. You can see all of that's collapsed. That is not great. I mean, I have a lot of work to do here. Let's just face the facts. And then I see paint. Like, this gives you an idea. There's a lot of work required. Like, I've got to go and repaint the whole house, probably treat it for dampness and things like that. The air conditioning system in houses, these things have to be maintained. And if they're not maintained, they eventually break down, and then that's an expensive system to go and replace. Now, we've just have new neighbours that have just built this house here. I used to have this big thick hedge here, so tons of privacy. Now I've got nothing. Now I'm sure these guys will go and put something decent in. It'll probably take a while for that to grow. So what are we thinking about? First of all, your emotions. Are you buying the house on an emotional high? Are you kind of looking at it and sort of going, oh, imagine waking up in this beautiful climate, everything like that? You can kind of make these decisions on a high, and you're kind of down there, holiday mode, enjoying yourself, having an amazing time, and you kind of think to yourself, like, what's there not to want about a beautiful house in Spain? And what you get for your money does seem a lot better value than back home. Certainly there's a garage, there's a kind of a staff area, kitchen, then the bedrooms are upstairs, and then the whole garden and stuff is built up in this area. And then you can see the new house being built towards the back there. Back home, you wouldn't get a house as big as this for that kind of money. And but then, where is it located? Like Dublin, obviously, to buy a house of this size in Dublin in a really top-notch area would cost you a couple of million. And so it can often feel like you're getting much better value for money. But the reality is it's a holiday destination, and so it's not full-time. It's not the demand to stay here is not all year round. All right, something else to think about as well is people think that they're going to go and put the property on Airbnb or whatever it is. Now, Airbnb is a great idea, but you've got to go and get a license in order to do that. It's a tourist license, and you've got to register for that kind of thing. You can't actually list a property on Airbnb unless you have a registration number. That's the first thing to think about. But the second thing is just to think about who are you going to rent it to? Because there are times of the year, depending on where you bought, that it's actually not going to have the same amount of demand. Like in the middle of August, this place is rammed, and you're always going to find people to rent it in the middle of August. But then in September, all those guys go back to work, back to school, whatever it is, and you end up with far less people interested in renting the place. And so that's something you got to think about, the demand. There are times of the year when the area that you've bought just clears out, and a lot of people, it becomes almost like a ghost town. So that's something to think about as well. Getting back to the idea of renting your property on Airbnb, there are some places where the local community has to vote on whether you're allowed to rent on Airbnb, so you should think about that as well. But the other thing is there's actually quite a bit of anti-tourism sentiment in different parts of Spain.
Locals in Spain have been shooting water guns at visitors, saying a flood of summer visitors is driving up housing costs in their cities and pushing out the locals.
Protesting against tourism on Spain's streets is back, and the holiday industry is starting to worry.
Where what has happened is, we've seen this in Barcelona and in Malaga, is that there are so many people that are getting good money on short-term rental that the properties that used to be rented to the local people are no longer available, because somebody can make a lot more doing it short-term than if they just rent it to somebody long-term. There's also a lot of we'll say tenant-friendly rules here in this country, in Spain, and it means that somebody can basically stop paying you rent, and it can be quite difficult to remove them. Now, we'll be familiar with that back in Ireland where you've got the RTB and stuff. Here in Spain, it's quite similar. And I know of people that have, the toilet, isn't working. So I'm just going to stop paying you rent. And then you can't get the guy out. So this problem exists kind of everywhere. Yeah, there you go.